All right, everyone. So we have Detra, my motivator. But she's going to tell you how she's everyone in the world's motivator today. And today's focus, we're really going to talk about the alignment between your body's temple and how you should be taking care of that body in order for you to have a healthy life and a longevity to your lifespan. So Detra, tell everyone in the world who you are.
Hey everybody, I am Detra Trueheart. I am a speaker, a preacher, an author, an influencer, a strategist, um, lover of people, and really just a wife, a mom. I don't know if I said that. I also have a fur baby, but really just all things of just really helping people to get out of their own way and get to the business of living, helping people show up fully and authentically, and really being in this space of being unapologetic of who God has called you to be and owning it.
Yeah.
So
So people are probably going to be like, I know Chaka does not have a preacher on this podcast. I thought this podcast was only about fitness. And yeah, it is.
but that's
But
one facet of who I am. So if that's the only thing they heard, that's not a
yeah,
good thing.
no, I know, but I like pulled that out of that
Hmm.
introduction. And I was just like, I wonder if people are going to be like, what, a preacher? But yeah,
Hmm.
faith and fitness go hand in hand.
Hmm.
And I share with people all the time that when I started this journey, I was 220 pounds, very big, had no idea like what I look like. And my husband, I love Steven. I love Steven. I wouldn't be married to him if I didn't, right? And like I told him one day, D, I was like, you are not gonna stay married to me looking like this. Like this is gonna be a hot mess. And he's like, no, I love you just for who you are. You'll be just fine. I was like, man,
Hmm.
you would have lost your mind. But I didn't have any purpose. I felt like I
Hmm.
didn't have any like self purpose
Hmm.
being in that space. I spent a lot of nights like crying, thinking about things, like looking at myself a little differently, going to work, started experiencing like a lot of panic attacks because of the
Hmm.
weight that was sitting on my chest.
Hmm.
It's gotten to be, it had, gotten to be really, really bad. And I was putting everything first.
Yeah.
And it didn't come to fruition until like after I had, I think, yeah, it was after I had Sid. And I
Hmm.
saw this picture one day and I was just like, there is no way. And I know what I used to look like. And I was
Hmm.
like, there's no flying way I'm going to be turning 40 looking like an Oompa Loompa.
Hmm.
So can you like give any advice to people who are in those spaces of like uncertainty and undoubt where they feel like this is like the end or this is not the road that I want to be on. They feel so insecure. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That's the
Hmm.
space that I was in, feeling very
Hmm.
insecure. So
Hmm.
like what do you say to people like that?
Well, I think the first thing is to understand that no matter what space you're in, you're loved, and that you're needed, and that that you matter. I
Yeah.
think that we have to give ourselves grace, especially because you had two children. I've only had one, and so I think that when you are, and this is specifically just in your case as a mom, there's some women who have just gotten in that space because of maybe caregiving or working too much. And so they put so much time into so many other things
Right.
that they have been put at the bottom of the totem pole. And so I think the one thing that you need to recognize is that you have permission to start over. You
Mm,
have permission to
mm,
decide that you can do something different. You have permission to decide and give yourself grace in that space. And the reason I said that is because sometimes as a mom, right, you're taking care of a lot of different things. And so sometimes it's hard to just take the weight off when you're dealing with babies,
yeah.
right? Your kids are older now. And so I like my son is 8. There's
Yeah.
so many different things that I can do differently now that I just couldn't do when my son was 2, 3, and 4. Like
Yeah,
it
that's
just was
true.
not realistic. And
That's
so I think you also understand the season that you're in. And it's weird because I really have been talking about this on other interview podcast conversations that I've been having is grant yourself grace based on the season that you're in, right? And
true.
so you may be in a busy season. And so if you're in a busy season, understand that it's temporary and it doesn't have to be permanent.
Right.
Think about the different things that you can do, right? So can you curb what you're snacking on, right? I know when I'm busy, I'm pulling the first thing that I see, right?
Everything,
And
everything.
so be intentional with what you're grabbing, right? So when you go to the grocery store, don't get the gummy bears, which is my favorite. Right? Get you some grapes, get you some almonds, get you some things that are good for you. And so those things taste good to me. I don't get them because they're healthy. I love carrots. I love cucumbers in like a raspberry or a wine vinaigrette. Like I love that kind of stuff. And I don't eat it because it's healthy. I eat it because it tastes good. And
Right.
so find things that are healthy that you like, not because it's healthy, but because it tastes good. And but I think more importantly, give yourself permission to start over. Give yourself permission to understand that it doesn't have to stay the way that it is right now. Give yourself permission to ask for help. Give yourself permission to admit that you didn't take care of yourself in the way that you should have, but that you don't have to stay there. I think a lot of times we carry a lot of some of the insecurity also is guilt, because we look
Yep.
at ourselves and we're like, dang, like how did I get myself here? Like
Yeah.
how did
Yeah.
I don't even understand how I got here, right? And so give yourself grace in all of those spaces. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I think grace is one of them. Starting over is another. Kind of owning your part in it, right? And so don't be in
Yeah.
denial about your part. I think we have to
Yeah.
be realistic about the fact that we did whatever it is that we did. Now, sometimes it's not your fault. Sometimes I know women who gain weight due to having children, due to birth control, due to thyroid issues, due
Right.
to fibroids. Like there are multiple things that are happening. And so I think when we talk about grace, understand that if you're in that situation and it is because of a health situation, also grant yourself grace and try to figure out what things that you can do possibly naturally in addition to the medicine that you might be prescribed that can also help that, right? Because and here's the last thing, and this just came to me, thank you Lord, is love yourself no matter what.
Yep.
You don't necessarily have to be like, you can still be 220 pounds and still love yourself,
Yeah.
and you could be 127 pounds and love yourself. And so I think the self-love is, you don't love yourself because of how you look, you love yourself because you love yourself. And
Yep.
so start to develop that love of self, not based on what you see. Now don't settle in that if you know you can do better and you know that there are things that you can do, but I think you also want to look at yourself and really start to love yourself and fall in love with yourself, and not fall in love with what you see when you look in the mirror, but what you see when you look in the mirror,
Yep.
right?
I totally get
The
that.
lumps, the bumps, the tilted
Totally get that.
boobs,
Yep.
the dimples in the booty, like all of
Yep.
the things that just come
The
with,
one titty that's bigger than the other.
girl, listen, girl, listen, right? And
It is
especially if
what
you
it is.
breastfed, girl, listen, the
It
one
is
that the
what
kid
it is.
just clung to, right? It just, right, didn't get a other boob, no love, right?
No,
So
but
give yourself
that's the
grace.
God honest
And
truth.
girl, listen, like all of that, right? All of that stuff, like get the full mirror, look at yourself. Like there's some women who don't even look at themselves in a full length mirror
Yeah, they really
because of
are.
shame.
And you know what? I didn't realize that until I got into this fitness world, that there are a lot of women who don't even look in the mirror whatsoever
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
because of a lot of self that they're so scarred
mm-hmm,
physically, mentally,
mm-hmm,
emotionally, and they don't even look in the mirror whatsoever. There's so
mm-mm,
many women. But there's something that you said a minute ago, and I wrote it down. I want to go back to that. And that was giving yourself grace, but then also the permission to start over. So
mm-hmm,
I've met more women now who, and older women who are actually older than me, who give me a lot of, I call them excuses, to be honest with you. But
mm-hmm,
they're not excuses. They're just excuses to me, but they're not excuses. But they give a lot of excuses, like, Chuck, I have a thyroid issue. I can't work out.
mm-hmm. It might be an excuse. I think you're just trying to give them grace, but sometimes it's an excuse,
Yeah.
right? Like it is an excuse. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it might be an actual fact, but it doesn't mean it, unless you're paralyzed and you can't move and your pain, the body in your pain, the pain in your body is so extensive that you just can't do anything. It's probably an excuse.
I know. And ironically, Sonny just texted me too, right? It's talking about
Mhm.
somebody who's like fully paralyzed and can't
Mhm.
exercise. And I was like, oh, let
Mhm.
me just sit you back in a minute. But
Mhm.
I want to go back to permission to start over. Why is it so important for us to give ourselves permission to start over? Because I know throughout this journey, I've failed so many different times. And over the journey, I've learned to, embrace it as a journey,
Mhm.
not as like a race and I'm just trying to get to one stop and so forth and so on. I've learned to embrace it as a journey and
Mhm.
to allow myself failure points.
Mhm.
And every time I fail, I kind of make like a physical, mental, I jot it down. What did I do? What
Mhm.
did I do in that process to own it? Or either who was around me
Yeah.
that really messed me up. Because it could be an argument with Steven. It could be something at work, whatever it was.
Yep.
But why is it important for us to give ourselves permission to start over?
Because sometimes I think that we just have to stay where we are, right? It's kind of like you wouldn't stay on a road if you knew that you missed the exit. You
Damn.
would get off, right? You would
Yeah.
get off, you'd figure out the next exit and figure out how to get back on and get back onto the path. Like how many of us have taken those road trips? We listening to the music, we eating our snacks, right? We talking, or sometimes we're just days, like we're in a daze, like just driving and we're like, dang, I think I missed my exit.
You just said that the other night in our class. You gave an
Staying in your own lane.
staying in your own lane, but you were talking about being on a you said that too. Yep.
Yep. And and it really was talking about the focus of our master class. That session was really talking about staying in your own lane and really not focusing on what everybody else is doing. Like you're in a car, you're looking at the people next to you, you looking at somebody talking, you looking at the people walking, and you're doing all of this kind of stuff and you're swerving right now to paying attention to where you're supposed to be going because you're worrying about everybody else, right? Yeah. In this space, similar to that, but you wouldn't in a space of like, oh shoot, like I missed the wrong exit, let me just keep going in the wrong way. None of us would do that. And so you have to look at your life in that same way, that if I wouldn't keep going down a road, not knowing where I'm going and I'll just keep going until something looks familiar and you're in a space that you've never been in before anyway, you would pull over, you would ask directions, or sometimes if there is an exit that once you get off, you can get right back on, you would do that. And so as it relates to your life, as it relates to fitness, as it relates to just how you feel about you have permission to start over. You have permission, even if you don't want to call it starting over, you have permission to pause and start back, right? Yeah. Start back up. And it's important simply because we go through seasons, right? Yeah. And so sometimes in one season, you might be doing something totally different than you are in another season, right? And sometimes what you're doing is just not working. And so why keep doing what's not working just because that's something that you're comfortable in, right? And many times that's the reason why we don't start over. That's the reason why we don't try new things, because where we're in, as crazy as it is, as dysfunctional as it is, as horrible as it is, we know that devil. Right. We know it, right? We're comfortable in it. We know what comes with it. But to start something new, to start over, it's like, whoa, I don't know about that. Like, what is this going to be like? But, there's a saying that says, what if I fail, but what if you fly, right? You'll never know if you don't try. You know what I'm saying? The other part is you'll learn so much more from your failures than you ever will from your successes.
Yeah, you know what? I'm trying to wrap my head around that so much now. I text you with some of my fears, but I am learning a lot right now about my failures more than I am my successes, because my failures are challenging me. My failures are allowing me to see where I went wrong. What is the road less traveled? Which road did I travel more on? Which road did I put more effort into in order to do things that are a little bit more successful? But you have to fail. It's only meant for us to fail. I actually love when I fail sometimes, because when I'm too successful, I get too scared, to be honest with you. But I like when I fail because it teaches me something. But what I want women or men, whoever's listening to this podcast, to understand, just like what Detra just said, is when you start to fail and you want to get off that road and you detour, you have to learn how to open up your mouth and ask for directions and ask for help. If you were going to do this fitness journey alone and by yourself, it's for naught. You're really not going to get as much assistance and maybe as much success as you would. And so I really like to extend myself to people as much as I possibly can. For people who have questions about different things, about journeys, about failures. You and I are both very, very, very busy women. And fitness has to be faith and fitness. Like I said, they're hand in hand. My slogan is, get up, pray, go work out, and go slay. Like that. I gotta pray before I get up and I do anything else, and then I go work out, and then everybody else gets everything that they need from me. I gotta have that relationship first with God before I work out. And then even with me working out, to be honest with you, it's very therapeutic for me. Like, it's so therapeutic, and I want more women to understand it and to see that I get so many creative ideas flowing when I'm like stressed underneath a bench press, or if
Yeah.
I'm like banging it out on a treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
Like
You were like releasing those endorphins.
I'm releasing those endorphins, and God is
Yeah.
just pouring everything back into me so I can pour
Mm-hmm.
everything else back into everyone else. And people are like, I don't understand why you always in the gym. I don't understand why you not. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
just,
Mm-hmm.
we,
Mm-hmm.
we got to work
And
it out.
we all have our own thing. And so I think, it's interesting that people are like, why, I don't understand why you're always in the gym. And it's like, it's not for you to understand. Like,
It's
this is my
not.
life. And here's the other thing that I think women, we need to understand. Stop apologizing for the choices you make. Stop apologizing for wanting better. Stop feeling like you got to apologize to people for wanting to live healthy. Excuse me.
True.
For
That's so
wanting to live
true.
healthy, for wanting to have a strong spiritual balance in your life, for wanting to be able to have a relationship with God, for wanting to vacation, for wanting to have freedom in your life. Like, stop apologizing to people who don't understand. A lot of times that also gets us stuck. And so you don't work out because none of your girlfriends work out. You
Right.
won't, do something else. You're not, you won't try this because, you know what I mean? Well, they might learn how to do some things by yourself. One of the things in this space that I think, and I'm sure Chaka, you will agree, is that you learned so much more about yourself in this space, of trying something new and doing something new and changing who you were and figuring out what you love. Like, when you get into that space of trying new things and you find something that you really love, it starts to show you more of who you are.
It does.
Right? It
It does.
shows you
Because
more of
it's
who
you
you
against
are.
you. It's you against you. It's you, yourself, and God. That's it.
Yes, yes. And so, if you would, and for many of you, sometimes it's just walking, like take a walk, right? You don't necessarily have to do a whole lot, jump rope, or ride a bike. Like, I went
Mm,
bike riding with my son last summer, for the first time in like forever. But I had such a good time, and it was therapeutic. Now, I'm
yeah.
not gonna lie to y'all. I am
I
not
hope you ain't
I'm not a
falling, bust your head open.
girl, listen, I didn't. But it took a minute to me but I was careful, girl. I wasn't trying to do no, crazy tricks or nothing. I was just like, okay, I think I got this. All right, slow down now. Wait, hold on now. But it was just us riding, and even me getting my little exercise, and and like I said, I'm not a gym rat. Like,
Right,
that's not,
right,
I'm not about that life. Now, I was a dancer for years, so that
right.
was my therapy. So, like, maybe you like Zumba. Like, take some time to maybe figure out what you like, right? Because you may have to find your cardio in a different way other than maybe going to the gym. Like, figure out what works for you. And here's the thing, when I say figure out what works for you, figure out what works for you in every area of your life.
That's true.
Right? Not just in fitness, but figure out what works for you mentally, emotionally. Figure out what works for
Fine.
you as far as work. Figure
Financially,
out
whatever it is.
financially. Figure out what works for you, right? How, like, some people will say, oh, like my dad. My dad is still old school. He write checks. Child, listen. I don't even remember the last time I wrote a check, right? I think I have checks, and if I needed to write a check, I could, but I might as well go to the bank, get me a money order, because I'm not writing no check. This is not. Girl, but he if you all remember when debit cards first came out and the commercials would show the people in line writing a check, and everybody
Yeah.
in line is like,
Like, what's that? That's all like dinosaur time.
girl, that's still my dad. He gonna write a check, girl. He got the double doubles, girl, the
Yes.
duplicates, because he tracking every penny, okay? But
And
it works for
he's
him.
probably still using his register book too, right?
Girl, listen to a T, girl, to a T.
That's all right
And
though. That's
so
how you
if the
learn basic accounting though. I'll tell you that. That's how I learned how to count my money. But
girl, listen. And so if that's you, don't apologize for it. We laughing, but we with you, girl. Listen, you got your coins, don't you?
yep.
And so even in this space of fitness and really trying to figure out what works for you, try different things.
Yeah.
Try different things. One of the things that literally we just talked about this last week in the Pushing the Purpose Masterclass is what I call EXP3. And
Right.
so it's experience, exposure, expansion. And so sometimes the only way you will figure out what works for you, and you'll be able to kind of like expand your way of thinking, is by experiencing new things. And by experiencing new things, you become exposed to new
So
things. And in that exposure, your mind becomes expanded, right? So for some of you, if walking is not your thing, maybe riding a bike is. If riding a bike is not your thing, maybe rollerblading is your thing. I have a girlfriend who roller skates, so maybe you go roller skating, right? If roller skating is not your thing, I don't know, maybe you try, meditation, and maybe you try
Or
like whatever,
yoga
or
or
yoga,
whatever.
like whatever it is, try something that works for you. It doesn't have to be one a one slot thing where if that doesn't work, then you done, right? Oh, I don't like the gym, I'm never working out ever again.
Yeah, it's the same thing it's what I tell a lot of moms and parents. The same way you got your kids involved into different activities. Like
Mm-hmm.
I ask parents this all the time. What does your child like to do? So somebody might say, well, my child plays football. Okay, but how did your child land in football, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I threw him into boxing, I threw him into karate, I threw him into basketball, but he landed, his gift was in football. That's the same thing for your health and your fitness.
Yes, and
You have
life.
to try different things, and wherever you land is where you land. But if you never
Yep.
try it, you know,
Yes. Yep.
you'll never know where you're gifted and where you're supposed to be, or where you're going to expand and do well in.
Yeah.
I
And
tell
here's the
people that
thing
all
that I
the
will
time.
say.
We play those rules as a kid, but don't apply
Mm-hmm.
those same rules when we become adults.
Because we don't remember them, and we don't. And I think we there's so many different things that we learn as kids, or that we kind of do, because sometimes I think the things that we do for our kids, we don't realize our parents did that for us, right? And so it's not taught, right? It's not until you have the revelation, or you're like, oh, you know what, when I'm on a road and I get lost, I don't stay in this, like, we don't look at it like that.
Yeah, you
It's
don't go in
just,
circles. You get off and you ask for direction.
yeah,
You
we
try
just
to be
think of it
involved.
like, oh, girl, I got lost on that trip the other day, girl, but I bet you I got off and I asked somebody where I had to go and I got back on track.
Hello. Same
And we
thing.
don't look at it as a life lesson.
You
But
can't
as you were talking, one of the things that I heard in my spirit is that for whoever will be listening to this, I really want to pray against the spirit of shame and
mm,
embarrassment of working out and feeling like you're not going to be able to do it.
yeah.
Will I be able to keep up? Will I be out of breath? Will I look weird, right? Am I
Yeah.
going to be the biggest person in the room? Am I going to look like I don't know what I'm doing? Am I that spirit of embarrassment and fear? I just want to pray over you right now, and I don't know what your belief is, but I can only just tell you what I hear as it relates to those who will listen to this. That spirit of shame is no longer on you, and that you would be able to be open to, and sometimes I know, Chaka, you do one-on-ones, but maybe what you like doing is not offered in a one-on-one setting. So you love roller skating, but you're afraid, if I get on them skates, child, and fall, well, guess what? We fall down, but we get up.
Get up.
Right? How many times, like, you didn't allow your child to not fall when they started to walk, right? We got these more mom kid like moments, right? You let them fall. You're like, oh no, they got to figure it out. You
Yeah.
got to figure it out. And so maybe you haven't done it in a while. Maybe you've never done it. Maybe, my goodness, thank you, Lord. Maybe it was not taught in your family. Maybe fitness and exercise and taking care of yourself was not something that was passed down through generations. And so you don't know where to start, right? And so you're just afraid because you know you need to do something, but you don't necessarily, it's not even that you're afraid to start over. You don't know what to do because
Yeah.
it has never been, you've never seen anybody exercise in your family. All you've seen people do is eat and tear that food up,
Yeah.
literally. And
Cook it and tear it up. Yep.
listen, they can cook, they can tear it up, right? But you haven't been taught how to do something different so that you feel better and so that you look better.
Yeah. Yeah. So you do have to teach yourselves. A lot of Black women right now, we are teaching ourselves fitness.
We're
And
creating a
we are.
whole new
We are.
legacy in our families.
We are. The last thing I want to go to is staying in your lane just a little bit. One of the craze right now, especially amongst women, all women right now, is implants. Doing a lot of surgeries, having a lot of things done physically to our bodies, using a lot of the waist trainers to make sure that your hips and your waist and your abdomen is squeezed, and it's not meant or designed to be that way at all. What do you say to women who, I have my own personal say on that. I firmly believe that that's all entertainment. You know, when you see women in the gym who are very voluptuous, you know, like, you know, their butts are very voluptuous, but their waists are like this big, you know, very small and so forth and so on. Some women are actually built like that. Like I do know
Yeah.
some women who are naturally born that way, but most
Yeah.
women are not naturally born that way.
It's
Like they had a lot of
manipulated.
cosmetic surgery that's done. And unfortunately, you know, it's the younger women who are doing those things, but it's the older women, you know, women in our generation or older who are looking at that and becoming very envious,
Hmm.
right? And are wishing for things like that. What do you say to women? I know what you're gonna say, but I want you to just say it. But what do you say to women, you know, about, because that's self-love, that's self-doubt, you know, that's staying in your own lane, that's all of those things. So go ahead, give it to them, Deidre. Just say it. I'm not gonna say it for you. Go ahead and say it. Go.
So,
Oh,
so the first thing that I will say is, why are you doing that? What's the purpose? Like, what's the real purpose? And part of that is because you don't like what you see when you look in the mirror.
yeah, because you're doing it for gratification, for
You're
someone's
doing it for
attention, for someone's
gratification. And
attention. Yeah.
so I think, if you want to, get a little boob perk, a little booty perk, something that's not drastic, I say to each his own. Like, I am not here to judge. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money or your body. But I will ask you is to double check why you're doing it. Right now, let's just say your mom and the boobs is looking weird. You like, let me just level them up, right? You like, level up, level up, level up, level up, level up.
I don't know if that's level up or level even. I think
Right,
it's
level
level
even,
even.
right? You level one up, level one up, level one, level one.
Don't be
So
messing with my song. That's my song in the gym. Do not infiltrate my song. I need my song to stay
you
pure.
go wait, you're gonna be thinking about me now. But
I'm
if
gonna be
you're
like,
trying to
like that.
so if you're trying to do something like that, right, I get it. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes like it's just like, listen, I breastfed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids and the girls just ain't working right. Right.
Yeah,
And so I want to do something because I just don't and I don't feel good about it, and not because it affects my self-esteem, but just because I want to be able to look in a mirror and not just and love them despite, but just be like, okay, like my head just tilts because you know what I'm saying?
I can see Deeja's face right now. Head
Like
just all the
just
way to the side.
yeah, it's like head to the side, like, okay, this is a little so like if that's
Oh
something you want to
God.
do, like and you have the money to do it, like there's a number of different things, right? One, if you've got the money for it, and it's not totally because of where you are and how you feel about yourself, child, listen, do what you want with your money. Seriously. But most of us, when because my thing is, we put on the lashes, we put on the hair, and I'm not talking
Yeah,
about people who have, right, whether it's like alopecia or certain things where they have to wear wigs or whatever. And sometimes you wear hair because it's fun, right? Some people who keep their hair braided. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking, you know what I'm talking about when I say this, the lashes, the hair, all of that kind of stuff is all superficial stuff to cover what's really going on.
right.
And so at some point, you're going to have to deal with that. At some point, you're going to have to look yourself in the mirror, like really look yourself in the mirror beyond what you are, the facade that you put out. And you got to deal with that because
Yeah,
that doesn't go away. That doesn't go away. It's layers. And the more you layer it, the worse it gets.
yeah,
And so with that, I would say when you're doing that, if there is already self-love and you love everything about you, but you would just want to put on you some hair, child, put you some hair on. If you
yeah.
love it, everything about you, like it's a supplement, it complements, right? It is not to replace anything.
Right. It's a
And
plan.
so I
Yeah.
think there is a difference between when you are trying to replace something and create a whole new person versus complement what is already beautiful. And
Yeah.
so when you understand that you are already beautiful, and even with the tilted boobs, right? Like whatever the case may be, right? Even with the belly, like some women, just the
Yeah.
muscles, like there's some things that childbirth does to a woman
Stretch
that
marks. Yeah.
it just like you got to get that belly tucked, right? It's not like you've been to the gym, like you working it
Yeah.
out hard with Chaka, and it's like, Chaka, listen, I'm working out hard, but the belly ain't.
Right. Yeah, I
Right.
know. Trust me, I know.
There's really right
Personally, I
there,
know.
right? There are some things that if you decide that you want to do, my goodness, you can do it, but don't go into debt doing it. Don't do it to cover up what you are not working on and what you're not dealing with, right? If you can't fix what you won't face, and doing all of that cosmetic stuff is not fixing it.
Yeah.
That's covered. It's painting it. And at some point in time, we all know that paint washes or it diminishes. And so the look is still not what it used to be. It's not permanent.
Can't fix what you won't face. That's what I just wrote down. Can't
Hmm.
fix what you won't face. Lord
You
have mercy.
can't.
Oh,
You can't. You can't fix what you won't face. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because another in this space of therapy and even like coaching and strategy sessions and all that kind of stuff, we're also creating a whole nother legacy of addressing issues that have never been talked about in our families
or in our communities.
or in our communities,
Yeah.
right? Or in the world, because there are some things that are totally okay for other people that are not okay for Black women.
Yeah.
Conversations that are totally okay for one group of people that is not okay to talk about for another group of people.
Yep.
And so we are changing the game, specifically as women, but also as Black women, as the next generation of leaders, as moms, as entrepreneurs, as CEOs, as executives, right? Like all of the different roles that we play, and even to some extent as stay-at-home moms. Like that is a hard role to play. That is a job. And most people, most of y'all, if you are listening during this time, whenever you listen, but there's much going on in the world and folks are home with their kids. And I'm sure all of you have a greater appreciation for the stay-at-home mom.
Amen.
Right? People have those thoughts and ideas of, oh, well, they just stay home and they don't really child. Listen, you understand now. You home with them kids and you wish you had somebody who could come get them.
Absolutely.
As much as you love them. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody is not built to be a stay-at-home mom, just like everybody is not built to be a work-at-home mom, and everybody is not built to be somebody who goes out and works. Like there are some people who literally are gifted to stay home and take care of kids. Like they love doing it. They love cooking. They love cleaning. They love making the snacks and the little sandwiches into the little turtle, you know, Ninja Turtles, leaving notes.
In the snacks.
Girl, listen, all of that.
That's their gift.
That's a gift. But let's not minimize each. And again, when we talk about doing what works for you and staying in your own lane, right? We are all in that space where we understand that there's some things that we were not made for, right? And so when you understand that, then it makes it easier to operate. Sometimes, like for me, you will not find me in a spinning class, child. No.
I can't with you. You could come to my class. Come to my class, D. Come on.
I would come for you. Girl, I would come for you, but I won't come back. Girl, listen.
To each his own. To each his own.
But you know what? So here's the thing. A girlfriend of mine, and her son and me and my son went hiking over the weekend.
Yeah.
Right? I enjoyed that. Girl, and the next day my legs was a little sore.
Yeah.
Girl, you know, going up the hill and down the hill.
Realize how much of a workout that is.
Right? So again, find what works for you. I could do that a couple of times. Like I would go on a hike. Dallas would run. He loved it. He had such a good time. But like, again, find what works for you. Spinning, girl, chopping and pass out. Listen, the way y'all be spinning that, listen.
I love it. And you know, it's crazy. I don't like spinning as a participant.
You like it from teaching?
I love the teaching aspect of it. I love the motivating side of it and getting people to like move and encourage.
Well, I guess maybe that might be different if I was on the other side. I'd have to see, because you know I have full of energy anyway. So
it's
I think it would be different. But yeah, girl, I be looking at them classes like they crazy.
Yeah, we are.
They be like,
we are. Up, down,
going crazy. I'm like, oh no.
I love it.
Yes, girl. Up, down, in, out. Now, here's the thing. I dance, and some people would be like, but I was, but that was my thing.
Yeah.
Like, that was my thing. That was what I was used to. Like, you know, ballet, tap, jazz, all of that kind of stuff. And so that was my way of staying, you know, in shape. But again, staying in your own lane, to each his own, right? And here's the thing, like, Chaka is cracking up at me. If y'all could just see us looking at each other. But here's the thing. When you know you, it makes life so much easier.
It does.
Because you know what you ain't gonna do. You ain't got to find me signing up for something that I know I ain't doing.
I know, because I'm not roller skating. I ain't doing it. I'm not doing it.
So I would take one of Chaka's classes just because it's Chaka, but I already know that I'm not coming back. I would do it for her because I love her, right? But I'm not coming back. Like unless
stay for the warm up, y'all. She might stay for the warm up.
I might, girl, and them legs tighten up, and I'm like, Chaka.
I'm sitting in the back. I watch you from afar.
Wait, I was just about to say that. I'm gonna sit in the back by the door. She knows me.
be sitting there in the chair, moving her legs like, yep, I'm
Girl.
going. Look, D, like, yep, I'm going in the chair.
Wait, you remember the old school fitness commercial where you had the low level? I would be the low level.
I cannot.
A low, medium, and high. Girl, I'm low. I'm low, like.
Oh God, my heart hurt. I cannot with you. I hope as I explain this, the person don't figure out who I'm talking about. Somebody did that in my class one day. They got
Lord.
off the bike and they was like, I can't, you in church?
Put the one finger up.
And I was like, where you going? She was like, and went off in the back. It was just in a chair. Like,
she was like, listen, I'm going to participate, just not on the bike.
Oh, God. Lord.
Girl, listen. But yeah, so you gotta figure out what works for you. You gotta know you enough. And part of knowing you is experiencing things, right? So you gotta experience some things. You gotta try some things out to know what's for you and what's not. And be okay with making mistakes. Be okay with starting over. Be okay with looking crazy, right? Because some of us, we just don't want to look crazy in front of nobody. Child, listen, when you get over that, that's half the battle.
I got a whole nother podcast for that. So don't even go into that. That's a whole nother podcast because Black women and fitness and appearances is a whole nother conversation.
Well, it's like Black women and swimming.
It's just,
we ain't getting in the water.
It's crazy to me. Get over it. But anyway.
Well, you know what? But I will say that when I cut my hair and I went natural, so I'll be natural, it'll be 5 years. Wow. 5 years in July that I will have cut my hair and went natural. The first time, I remember the first time when I cut my hair and I put my whole head in the shower. Girl, it was such a freeing experience.
The whole head,
girl. I was like this.
Oh my goodness.
And it was an experience. Wow. It was totally an experience. And so I think we have to find creative ways to experience things that culturally hasn't always been things that we've done. Right? And so you get your hair braided. Like for me, I had my hair twisted for about 8 weeks over the summer. I have a short attention span of a gnat, but I do. And I know y'all keep hearing me say, I know me, right? I know me. I have to focus, right? With both eyes. But I was like, I can't sit that long to get my hair braided, but I knew.
You can multitask. You can
Well, I did, but I just don't like sitting for that long. Like for me, the idea of just sitting, but I read and we talked. I think the first time she came over on a Sunday and we watched like 2 whole church services. Like I didn't know I was sitting. And so I was like, wow. And it was good for my hair because my hair grew. And so for some of you trying new things, right? Set the money aside, get your hair braided, right? So that you can go swimming, so that you can go to the spa, so that you can like do certain things. Like for some of you, maybe you just need to go get a massage and release some of the stress. Like that's a whole nother thing, right? Like instead of spending all of that money on getting your hair and your nails done, go and get you a massage. Some of you, depending upon who you work for, it might even be covered in your medical insurance.
Absolutely.
And you don't even know. So, we could talk all day and all night about this, but listen.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining the Real Women, Real Fitness podcast today, Detra. It really means a lot to you. My friend, you're my sister, and also my coach, my strategist. But let people know where they can find you, how they can stay connected with you.
So you guys can find me on my website at trueheartspeaks.com. It's TrueheartSpeaks. All 3 words, Trueheartspeaks. .com. And if you scroll down, I actually have a freebie that I give away, which is 3 ways to get out of your own way today. And just put your name and your email in. It's about a 15-minute audio mini masterclass. And then in addition to that, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn as well, under Trueheart Speaks. You can find me on LinkedIn, I believe, under Detra Trueheart. I'm on YouTube, SoundCloud, Periscope, and actually, depending upon when you're listening, I am live for the next now 29 days, every night on Facebook, Periscope, and Instagram. I'm an author of a book called 30 Days of Thanks, 30 Daily Devotions for Creating and Cultivating an Attitude of Gratitude. And so we're doing live reading during this time. I felt like this was a time for me to do this. I normally do it in November. I didn't do it in November of 2019 because I just didn't feel that I should be doing it, but now I feel like I should. People
Yeah,
need
and it's very timely. Yep.
it's timely. And so now is the time for people really to understand that no matter what is happening in this world, that there is always something to be grateful for.
Yep.
And part of my book says that being grateful and being thankful is not optional, it is a necessity.
Yep.
And so hopefully if you're looking for something to read, you can go to my website, trueheartspeaks.com/book, and get a copy of my book as well as my devotional journal. And join us on this journey every single night for the next 29 days, until April, I believe it's April 19th, 2020, depending upon when you're listening to this.
Yep.
We're going from March 21st to April 19th, 2020, 30 days every night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Facebook, Instagram, and Periscope.
And I want to also kind of plug you a little bit. If folks really need some Detra's great. She really is good at what she does. We were friends before both of us started doing any of these business ventures that we have and the different brands that we have. But if you really want to get connected on a deeper level into understanding your passion and your purpose and your fit, I really encourage you to really connect with Detra. I really do. She has helped me really streamline, and I have my own lane. She's helped me really not discover, but really go deeper into what that lane really is and how I can explore that lane a lot. If you're in that space, I implore you to really reach out to Detra. Whatever it is that you want to do. Keep me for your fitness, go to Detra for your purpose. Like whatever you want to do, we can work this out. We can tag team, whatever you want to do. But she's
Yes.
awesome. And I really want to thank you, sis, for being on the podcast today. I love you and I appreciate you.
I love you more. Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. Hold on.